Welcome back, Deep Divers. Today, we're going deep on a topic suggested by one of you.
Oh, this is going to be good.
It's a concept from Rudolf Steiner
Okay.
called the Incarnation of Ahriman.
All right.
We've got some excerpts from his lectures and an introduction from the book of the same name.
All primary source Steiner, then?
Exactly. So, straight from the source, so to speak.
I like it.
But before we jump into the
deep end.
Yeah, the deep end. Before we jump into the deep end, for anyone who might not be familiar with Steiner,
Right.
Can you give us like the quick rundown? Who was this guy and why should we care about his ideas?
Well, Steiner was an Austrian philosopher, early 20th century, and an esotericist.
Esotericist.
Yeah, he founded a system called anthroposophy, which he described as a science of the spirit.
Okay.
And his work, believe it or not, has actually had a pretty big impact.
Really?
Thousands of schools,
Wow.
farms,
Even clinics?
all around the world operate based on his ideas.
That's pretty amazing for someone most people have probably never even heard of.
Yeah, he's not exactly a household name, but his influence is definitely out there.
So today, though,
Yeah.
we're focusing on this specific concept,
Yeah.
the Incarnation of Ahriman.
Right.
And I got to say, even the name sounds a little,
A little ominous.
little ominous.
Uh-huh.
So for those of us who aren't up on our Steinerian cosmology, who or what is Ahriman, and why should we be worried about him showing up?
Well, to understand Ahriman, we need to understand how Steiner saw the cosmos in general.
Okay.
It's not your typical good versus evil kind of setup.
Hmm.
He saw it more as a threefold structure, a cosmic triad of forces.
Okay, like a cosmic tug of war with us stuck in the middle.
That's a pretty good analogy. You've got the Luciferic forces on one side, pulling us towards the spiritual realm, boundless freedom, transcendence.
So like inspiration, that kind of thing.
Yeah, inspiration, but also, the potential for fanaticism, delusion.
Right, getting a little too...
Carried away.
Yeah, carried away with it all.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's Luciferic forces.
Right.
What about Ahriman? Is he like the opposite end of that rope?
Precisely.
Okay.
He represents the pull towards materialism, cold, hard logic, rigidity of thinking.
So like the kind of thinking that gets stuck in the details and misses the big picture?
Exactly. The kind of person who thinks if they can't see it or measure it, it doesn't exist.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works.
Yeah.
So where do we fit into this cosmic tug of war?
Well, Steiner believed that humans represent the potential for balance, for finding a middle ground.
Okay.
He called this the Christ impulse.
Christ impulse.
Not just in the, religious sense, but as a universal force for equilibrium.
Okay, so it's like we have the potential to be the mediators, the ones who hold the rope steady.
Exactly. And Steiner believed that, modern culture especially, it tends to lean a little too heavily on the Luciferic side. Yeah, we're always pushing boundaries, breaking free from limits.
Right.
But sometimes, we forget to ask if we're actually headed in the right direction.
So we're so caught up in the excitement of, like, breaking free?
Yeah.
That we forget to check if we're, like, running off a cliff.
Exactly. And this is where Ahriman becomes a little more relevant because Steiner believed that Lucifer, he already kind of had his moment in the spotlight.
What do you mean?
He claimed that Lucifer actually incarnated in a human being long ago in Asia.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're saying like Lucifer was actually here?
Yep.
Walking around doing his thing?
That's what Steiner believed, yeah.
That's wild. So what, like, he was just, like, hanging out, influencing people. What was he doing here?
Well, Steiner saw the ancient wisdom traditions, especially in Greece, as stemming from that Luciferic influence.
Oh, interesting.
Beneficial in some ways,
Right.
But ultimately limited. He even argued that early Christians viewed Christ through that Luciferic lens because it was the dominant worldview at the time.
So, like, our whole understanding of the divine was shaped by this being who'd already been here. That's a lot to process.
It is, yeah.
But if Lucifer's already had his turn, where does Ahriman come in?
Well, Steiner believed that Ahriman would also incarnate, but likely in the West, sometime in this millennium.
This millennium.
Yeah, and just as Lucifer brought a certain kind of, wisdom, I guess you could say, Ahriman will bring something different.
Ooh. What's that?
Extreme cleverness, for one thing.
Cleverness.
And the ability to manipulate material forces.
Manipulate material forces.
Steiner even suggested he might be able to induce what seems like clairvoyance in people.
Like psychic powers?
Yeah, but through purely material means.
Okay, now that's a little creepy.
It is, it is.
So it's not going to be obvious like fire and brimstone when he shows up.
Sure.
He's going to be subtle.
Oh, very subtle.
And manipulative.
The ultimate manipulator.
So it's all part of his like master plan or something.
You'd say that.
To like trick us into thinking he's good.
In a way.
But what's the point of all this? Like, what does Ahriman get out of it?
Steiner believed his arrival would be a grand demonstration of the limits of purely material forces.
Okay.
A kind of trap, you could say.
A trap.
Yeah, to show that even if he can conjure what looks like spiritual experiences through technology or other means,
right,
they won't lead to genuine spiritual development.
So it's like he's saying, look, even I can create miracles with just matter.
Yeah.
But it's all smoke and mirrors.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little freaked out here.
Haha. Well, hold on. It gets even more interesting.
More interesting.
Because Steiner claimed that Ahriman's already at work, in a way.
What do you mean?
He's subtly shaping our world, making us more susceptible to his influence when he does finally arrive.
He's like setting the stage.
Exactly. He's got his tools, so to speak.
Ahriman's toolkit. That's a chilling thought.
It is, yeah.
So what are these tools? How's he working on us right now?
Well, that's what we're going to get into next.
Oh, man.
Stay.
All right, deep divers, you heard it here first. Things are about to get even deeper.
Buckle up.
We'll be right back after a quick break. Okay, deep divers, welcome back. We just finished exploring this whole concept of Ahriman.
Right.
This being who's supposedly like working behind the scenes to, push humanity toward this purely materialistic worldview.
Yeah.
And it's a little unsettling, to say the least.
I can imagine.
But the big question I keep coming back to is like, what can we do about it?
That's the question, isn't it?
Is there any way to fight back against this kind of,
cosmic influence?
Or are we all just doomed to become like
puppets?
Yeah, puppets in his little cosmic game.
Well, I think that feeling of what's the point, that's exactly what Ahriman would want us to feel.
Really?
Yeah, he wants us feeling powerless. Like there's no point in resisting.
That's sneaky.
It is. It is.
But Steiner, I mean, he didn't just like lay out this whole terrifying scenario and then leave us hanging, right?
He did not.
He must have had some ideas about like what we can do.
He believed we can not only resist Ahriman, but potentially even use his arrival.
Use it.
To our advantage.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
It is, yeah.
So it's not about like hiding or running away.
No.
It's more about like turning this challenge into some kind of opportunity.
Exactly. But it requires, a pretty significant shift.
A shift?
Yeah, in how we see the world, how we think, and how we act.
So like a total overhaul.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Well, Steiner's his path obviously was through anthroposophy.
Right, it's a science of the spirit.
Exactly.
But I mean, is that the only way?
It's his way.
Yeah.
But I think the underlying principles, they can be applied more broadly.
Okay, so what are those principles? Like, how do we actually do this? How do we cultivate this spiritual science or whatever and resist Ahriman?
Well, Steiner really emphasized developing true spiritual knowledge.
Okay, but what does that even mean?
It means not just blindly believing what we're told, but actively engaging with the spiritual realm.
So more of a lived experience?
Yeah.
A relationship with the spiritual rather than just a set of beliefs?
Precisely.
Okay, so like less talk, more action.
You could say that.
But, a lot of people would argue that like, the intellect, our ability to reason, that's our greatest strength, right?
Sure.
Is Steiner saying we should just abandon that?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
He just saw it as a tool,
And
like any tool, it can be used for good or for,
evil.
Not necessarily evil, but, for less beneficial purposes.
Okay.
Remember his example of Karl Marx?
Yeah.
How even opposing ideologies can be proven logically.
Right, because the intellect alone.
Yeah.
Without like deeper wisdom.
Exactly.
Can be manipulated.
Exactly. So it's about balance.
Balance.
Yeah, finding that middle ground between head and heart, you could say.
Okay, so it's not about rejecting logic.
No.
It's about like using it in conjunction with
Right.
intuition, with feeling, with
With a deeper understanding
understanding
of ourselves and the world.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this connects back to that idea of distorted Christianity.
Right.
Steiner argued for a more heart-centered spirituality,
Okay.
moving beyond literal interpretations of Scripture to a more direct experience of the divine.
That Christ impulse.
Exactly.
That brings everything into balance.
Precisely. So it's not just about talking about spirituality, it's about living it,
Embodying it.
Embodying it, yeah.
Okay, but with Ahriman's influence, supposedly,
Like,
all around us already, are there any, signs we can look for?
sign.
Yeah, to help us see through his deceptions.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think that's something you really have to grapple with personally.
Personally.
Where do you see that emphasis on the purely material?
Okay.
Where do you see complex realities being reduced to simplistic explanations?
Right, oversimplifying things.
Exactly. And where do you see division being amplified?
Division.
Yeah, between groups of people,
Yeah.
often to the benefit of those in power.
Right.
And where do you see genuine spiritual seeking being dismissed or even ridiculed?
Those are some tough questions.
They are.
Especially these days when it feels like, everyone's fighting over what's true.
Exactly.
And what's fake.
Yeah, it's a chaotic time.
It is.
But I think Steiner's work, even if you don't agree with all of it,
Right.
it offers this lens through which to understand these forces that are shaping our world, both seen and unseen.
I like that, a lens.
Yeah.
So by understanding those forces,
Right.
we can start to make more conscious choices about
exactly
how we engage with
and
them.
about how we respond, how we react.
Right. It's not about just being swept along by the current.
No.
It's about becoming the captain of our own ship, so to speak.
That's a great analogy.
So we can choose to cultivate that Christ impulse within ourselves.
To be that point of balance.
Yeah.
In a world that seems
Out of balance.
increasingly out of balance.
Yeah, for sure.
And that brings us back to, the heart of this whole deep dive, understanding this concept of Ahriman's incarnation.
Right.
The goal isn't to spare anyone.
Okay.
It's to empower you,
Me.
the listener, to make more conscious choices about how you navigate this world.
So to recognize those influences that might be shaping our thoughts, our actions, without us even realizing it.
Without us even knowing it.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
It is.
But also an incredible opportunity, right?
It is.
To wake up.
To wake up
and step into our potential
as conscious spiritual beings.
As conscious spiritual beings, exactly.
And that leads us to the next question.
What's that?
What practical steps can we take?
Oh, right. Okay.
Knowing all of this.
We know all this stuff now.
Yeah.
What do we do with it?
Exactly. And that's what we'll explore in the final part of our dive.
Welcome back, deep divers. It's been quite a journey so far. Exploring this whole idea from Rudolf Steiner.
Right.
About a being called Ahriman coming to Earth.
And already influencing us.
Yeah. In these subtle ways.
In ways we might not even recognize.
Pushing us toward
a materialistic worldview.
Yeah. Making us think that
the material world is all there is.
That there's no higher purpose.
No deeper meaning.
It's honestly a bit overwhelming,
I understand that.
Knowing all this.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can actually do?
Ah, yes. The big question of what to do.
Or are we just, kind of doomed to become pawns in this...
In his game. Yeah.
In his cosmic game.
Well, I think that feeling itself.
The feeling of being powerless.
That helplessness.
Yeah.
That's part of his game, too.
Really?
He wants us to feel that way.
To just give up.
To give up. To feel like resistance is futile.
Man, that's sneaky.
It's very sneaky.
But Steiner...
Yeah.
He didn't just leave us hanging, did he?
No.
He must have had some ideas about what we can do to fight back.
He believed we are not powerless.
Okay.
Not only can we resist, but we can even potentially use Ahriman's arrival.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Turn it to our advantage.
In a way, yes.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is a radical idea.
So it's not about just
hiding,
or running away or just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
It's more about
transforming the situation.
Yeah, transforming it, turning this challenge into some kind of like
Opportunity.
opportunity, yeah.
But that takes a pretty big shift.
A shift in
consciousness.
Okay.
A willingness to see the world
Yeah.
and to be in the world
Okay.
in a completely different way.
All right. So how do we do that? Like, where do we even begin?
Well, remember Steiner talked about
Yeah.
developing true spiritual knowledge?
Right. Through anthroposophy. Yeah. His science of the spirit.
Yeah. His science of the spirit, right?
But is that like the only way?
I think it's his way.
Yeah.
But the underlying principles,
Okay.
they could be applied
In other ways.
in other contexts, yeah.
So like, what are those principles?
Well, one of the key things is to move beyond the purely material.
Right. Like to recognize that there's
more
to reality.
More to reality. Yes.
Than what we can just see and touch.
Than what we can measure and quantify.
Right. So it's not about rejecting science.
No, not at all.
Or logic.
It's about expanding our understanding.
Yeah.
Recognizing that there are other ways of knowing.
Okay, so like intuition.
Feeling.
Things that can't be like proven in a lab.
Exactly.
But are still real.
But are still very real and very important.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Good.
So Steiner called this
ethical individualism.
Ethical individualism, right?
Yeah.
It sounds kind of
paradox.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, it's not about being selfish. It's about recognizing that each of us has a responsibility. To ourselves.
Okay.
To each other. And to the world.
So like our actions have consequences.
Exactly.
That affect everything around us.
It's about acting from a place of conscious intention.
Okay.
Not just blindly following the crowd.
Right. Not just doing things because
everyone else is doing them.
Yeah. Or because it's like the easy thing to do.
Or because it's what we're told to do.
Yeah.
We have to think for ourselves.
So we have to like really question our motives.
Exactly.
Before we do anything.
Ask ourselves why we're doing something.
And why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Are we doing it out of like fear or greed or
the desire for power?
Power, yeah.
Or are we doing it out of compassion?
Okay.
Love.
Yay.
A desire to serve something greater than ourselves.
That's a powerful question.
It is.
To ask ourselves.
It is.
And it's easy to forget to ask it.
Oh, it's very easy.
You know, we just get caught up.
In the day-to-day?
Yeah, in the day-to-day and just like
react
to things.
Without really thinking about it.
And about the why.
The why.
And that's exactly what Ahriman wants.
Right.
He wants us to be reactive.
Oh, so he can manipulate us more easily.
Exactly.
Wow, okay.
So we have to be more conscious.
More
intentional.
Well, our actions.
And Steiner also said we need to actively engage with the world.
But wouldn't it be like safer to just
to retreat?
Yeah, to retreat, to like
to hide
from all this Ahrimanic influence.
That's what he would want us to do.
Really?
He wants us to isolate ourselves.
To just give up.
To withdraw from the world.
And Steiner saying we should do the opposite.
He said we need to be in the world.
Okay.
Working to make it better.
Right.
To like fight back against.
To bring about positive change.
Okay.
To use our talents, our abilities.
To make a difference.
Yes.
So it's not enough to just like work on ourselves.
And meditate.
Yeah, to meditate or just, to
just read books.
Yeah, read books or go to workshops.
We have to actually do something.
Put it into practice.
In the real world.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, how so?
Steiner believed that by engaging with the world in this way,
in this conscious way,
in this ethical way, we can actually transform Ahriman's influence from within.
Wait, so we can like
use his arrival
as an opportunity
to awaken humanity
to the reality of the spiritual.
To the spiritual dimension, yes.
Even though he's trying to do the opposite.
Even though that's the last thing he wants.
So it's like we're fighting fire with fire.
In a way, yes.
But the fire we're using is the fire of like
the human spirit.
The human spirit, yeah.
It's not about fighting in the usual sense.
Right.
It's about transcending. Showing that there's this level of reality that Ahriman just can't touch.
That he can't control.
That he can't manipulate.
And so we're not trying to like prevent him from coming.
No, because Steiner said that's inevitable.
That's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
But we can change how we
respond to it.
How we react. We can use it as like
a catalyst.
A catalyst for
change.
For change, yeah.
For growth.
For growth, for
evolution.
Evolution, yeah, like a wake-up call for humanity.
Yeah, hey, this is what's at stake here.
This is what really matters.
This is what's truly important.
And Steiner believed that if enough of us do this inner work, and then bring it out into the world, we can actually shift the whole trajectory of human evolution. Wow, so it's not just about like saving ourselves.
It's about something much bigger.
It's about saving humanity.
That's the potential, yes.
That's a pretty big responsibility.
It is a huge responsibility.
But I mean, how do we even know that Steiner was right about all this?
That's a question each of us has to answer for ourselves.
Yeah.
It comes down to trust. To discernment.
Discernment, yeah.
You have to trust your own inner knowing, your own sense of what's true.
Right.
What's right.
What's right, yeah.
And I think what makes Steiner so compelling is that he's not asking for blind faith.
Okay.
He's encouraging us to think for ourselves.
To think for ourselves.
Question everything.
To question everything.
To test his ideas against our own experience.
So he's not giving us like dogma, yeah, but more like
tools, perspectives, ways of
seeing, yeah.
And that's how we resist manipulation.
Okay.
Whether it's from Ahriman or from anyone else.
From anyone else, yeah.
We have to develop that inner knowing.
The inner knowing.
That ability to discern what's true.
Truth from falsehood.
Truth from falsehood, yes.
This is
quite a journey.
Yeah, quite a journey.
Down the rabbit hole.
Down the rabbit hole, yeah.
And a valuable one, I hope.
I think so, even if
we don't.
Agree with everything.
Agree with everything Steiner said.
It can still challenge us to think differently.
To think different.
To look deeper.
To engage with the world.
But in a more conscious way.
In a more ethical way.
In a more ethical way, exactly. So, deep divers, keep seeking.
Keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Did you get any of that?